Cookie. God bless. All right. Okay, we got 6 viewers now. Good enough time to start. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm Airborne if you haven't been here before. Today we're going to do a Venom tutorial for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Venom, this is the first time he returned since Marvel vs. Capcom 2. He was also in Marvel vs. Capcom 1 as one of the most broken characters with Red Venom. And now he's like he's good, but he's not great. So he's very niche pick. Definitely, yeah, he's definitely got ups and downs. So basically, the question you would ask yourself is, why would I want to play Venom? Aside from, liking the character, there's actually quite a big fan base for him. So Venom is a very strong support character in this game. He's more like a 70% support, or maybe 75% support, 25% point. He primarily focuses on just giving you opportunities to control real estate with his Venom Trap. He's able to use big normals and everything to keep the opponent in check. He has strong frame traps in terms of point potential. He can combo off of throws. He's got very synergistic supers. And he's got mobility, but it's not fast like Spidey. It's he's got 2-way air dash. He's got 3-way zip on the ground, 3-way zip in the air. He's got Venom Fang to alter his trajectory. He's got Venom Barrel, which allows him to put a big hitbox out with air-to-air situations. He's got really big normals, but they're really slow. They have actually pretty good frame advantage. In certain instances, you can get some really good frame traps going. He has a very terrifying normal that causes crumple and can hit from like a quarter of a screen away. So there's a lot of things that you can do with him in terms of just controlling the mid-range game, as well as just forcing the opponent into a position where you can lock them down for your point character to do all the work. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick my main team as I go into this further. I will say the flaws he has are slow normals. His defensive tools aren't too good. Like, he doesn't have very good reversals. Venom Web is often used as a reversal, but it's not invincible in frame 1. So that's one big issue. Other weaknesses would include just, if he's by himself, it's not very easy to, ride any sort of momentum to open people up and actually make a comeback. Part of the reason why I use Soulstone. Another one is when he's in the air, generally he's fully committing and everything, which is why he's better to stay on the ground, but he has bad matchups against characters that typically are able to control the ground a lot better. Winter Soldier's a decent example of that. Well, it's not good. It's not that bad. It's probably like 60-40 kind of thing. But yeah, he definitely has a bit of an issue with zoners. Like Dormammu is a bad matchup. Hawkeye is a frustrating matchup. So I'm just gonna go through his moveset real quick. You have his standing jab. As you can see, it's actually pretty big. It's 8 frames of startup, so it's one of the slowest jabs in the game, sadly. But that's how far it hits, which is gigantic. It's actually very good at, well, that's not a true combo, but it's actually very good at comboing into light kick or heavy punch. I think heavy kick even. Yeah. So you can combo into most of his normals with it. It's a very good button to just check the opponent. It's actually pretty decent against Dante if he's trying to go in on you. And Dante has pretty big normals, mind you. We also have his standing light kick. It's actually slower than his crouching light kick, his standing light punch, crouching light punch, and everything. I want to say, I'm gonna pull up his frame data real quick, actually, just so I make sure I know what I'm talking about. I've got the startup for most of the frame data um, taken care of, but we still have a lot of the frame data for Venom to take care of. Okay, so standing light kick is actually 9 frames. So it's only 1 frame slower than his standing light punch, but it's it's got more range than a standing light punch though. So if standing light punch is whiffing, oh okay, it's the same range. I don't use it that much. I typically like to use standing light punch more than standing light kick, but standing light kick's generally better for frame traps and everything. Standing light punch is better to check the opponent. So then we also have his crouching light punch. So it's got the same range as standing light punch. There's just not too many reasons to use crouching light punch as opposed to crouching light kick. Crouching light kick has slightly worse range than all the punches, but it actually is the same speed as his jab and his crouching jab. Yes, Hanny, I'll be putting this on YouTube as well. So in case you're joining us late, it'll be on YouTube. That channel will be Airborne is Golden, and I'll be posting it, Twitter, Facebook, the MvCi Reddit, and everything. So it'll be there. So crouching light kick, as I was saying, has a little worse range than the jabs and the kicks, but it's the same speed as his jabs. Okay, so crouching jab actually has slightly less range than standing jab. But as I was saying, standing jab I prefer to use more. I think it actually rocket can low profile under it, so crouching jab would be better in that instance. Then we also have standing heavy punch. I typically use this as a my hit confirm. So generally when I go into jab or something, I typically like to use it there. It's not the I'll say it's not the best in terms of a footsie tool. It doesn't have the best horizontal range. You pretty much get the same range out of standing jab and everything. I will say though that since it is 2 hits, and one thing that's really important to note is Winter Soldier's arm. For those that don't know, he's completely invulnerable to any hitbox that hits him above the waist. So the standing heavy punch, although the first hit is above because it comes down in this arcing motion, the second hit actually hits below. So as you saw, the second hit knocked Winter Soldier out of the arm. So it's actually really useful in situations like that. So you don't necessarily have to chain into a low. For instance, you can go into your heavy for instances like that, or even if you're trying to like throw tech or something. It's pretty useful in that situation where Winter Soldier might be using the arm. Crouching heavy punch is his launcher. It's actually quicker. Going back to standing heavy punch, that one's actually 14 frames of startup, so it's actually one of his slowest moves. The crouching heavy punch, though, his launcher is 11 frames, and as you can see, he moves forward with it. And typically with that, it doesn't really have that strong of an anti-air hitbox. As you can see, he moves forward with it to follow through with it. So a lot of times if someone's trying to come down on you, it will actually whiff and the opponent will land behind you. And so you generally get into a worse situation than like any other anti-air normal. So it's not the greatest, but in terms of a hitbox in front of him, it's not bad. Let's see, and then we also have standing heavy kick. This one actually has, I want to say it's, okay, so heavy punch, I forgot to mention, it also moves Venom forward. Standing heavy kick has a lot of disjointed range, and so is actually one of his better normals that really is underutilized. It's active, it beats out a lot of things clean. I was actually trying to test it earlier if it would beat out Gamma Charge or something. If you time it correctly, it's close. If you can time it well, it'll trade at least, and it'll actually beat out the armor, so that helps. And that is actually his slowest normal at 16 frames of startup, so it's twice as slow as his jab. It's slower than his fear, so generally it's typically better for, not necessarily for just the hard reads and everything, but it's better for chaining into during pressure strings and everything, because what's going on with that is if I'll set him to block real quick. So we got the push block on. Generally, if we do the standing jab, they push block that, you go into the roundhouse. It generally sets you up in a prime position to react to the push block and actually get Venom Rush, Venom Fang, Venom Trap, whatever is best for that situation, to lock down the opponent, get your point character started. And that's really the whole point of Venom, is to try to use his frame traps and lockdown specials and everything, and his real estate control, to be able to set your point character up to do what they are meant to do, and that is to open the opponent up, to start your offense, to get, set up shop, whatever you need to do. Essentially what Reality Stone is now, but in a character. So, as you can see, the heavy kick will still manage to chain after they push block a jab. Even light kick as well. So generally, with how slow it is, you can, delay it just a hair if you think they're push blocking in anticipation for the second hit, or if they're trying to up back out of it. It can generally catch the opponent in that sort of manner. And also, it gives you a long time to actually confirm into his forward heavy punch, which I'll go over in a minute. So the next move is his crouching roundhouse, which this sucker is huge. Like, it's really nice. One thing that's really important to note with it, aside from the fact that it's actually, I stand corrected. It's actually, this is his slowest normal. It's faster than 16 frames, but slower than 20. I didn't actually get that far. So, let's see, where was I going? Oh yes, record. Okay, so I have Winter Soldier set to do gun loops, and Venom, being a moderately sized character, he'll get shot by him. Oh no. Let me re-record this real quick. I apologize. Okay. Okay. So, one thing that's important to note is gun loops, Venom will get shot if he stands. If he's crouching, you can low profile it, which is really important. Funny option select, by the way. So one thing that's really interesting is that crouching roundhouse actually keeps Venom at that level, at that crouching height the entire time, so you can just it's very important that you can actually stay under while creating a normal, so that Winter Soldier can't advance on you and actually get pressure started for his point character. So that's one thing that's very important to note, at least in that matchup. I don't think he can block or crouch under Bolts of Balthak, for instance, so that's something that you really can't tolerate as well, and is actually, I would say, Doctor Strange is one of his worst matchups. But yes, it has a lot of range, much farther. Standing heavy punch whiffs, standing roundhouse whiffs. The sweep will land though. Okay, they have the same hit. You know what I'm saying. Anyways, so after that we have the forward roundhouse. This is his biggest normal. So we already, you can see nothing's really hitting right now. Max range, that will, if you space it perfectly, it will actually chomp Chun-Li out of her ball super, her Kikosho. Is it Kikosho? I think it's Kikosho. It will, you can actually step into it and hit her out of it clean, but it has to be spaced like pixel perfect practically. This one's actually slower than his roundhouse. I didn't say it was his slowest normal though, because it's command normal. But it is, generally the thing that people fear in his frame traps and everything. It's the move that people are absolutely terrified of, because it ends in a crumple. You have all day to you can dash twice to get the corner carry. You can do whatever you need to get things started, or put everything in the right position. In fact, you can actually just hop right over the opponent. Hang on. You can just hold forward and like you can do that if you need to. If you have time stone, you can just teleport right through. There's all sorts of silly stuff you can do with it. So then we have his jump light. I think it's 7 frames, so it's not that fast of a jump normal. Like for instance, Sigma's jump light is 5 frames, and I think Thanos's is 2. Spider-Man's is 5. So it's faster than all of his ground normals, but it's still relatively slow. It has a pretty nice horizontal hitbox though. It's generally good for air-to-airs and everything. Another good air-to-air normal is his jump light kick. Generally, you can use it to confirm off of like stray heavy punch or something. His best air normal though is definitely his heavy punch. For those that haven't really seen it, it's gigantic. It's really hard to beat out. You can zip into it and, you know, catch people that are trying to, you know, get fancy on the ground. And you can also, you know, catch people with it in the air. His heavy kick is really not that great. It is his most downward hitting normal, so if you're trying to do any sort of overheads or anything, your best bet is to either do heavy punch or heavy kick. But it's pretty slow. It's not that great. If you can somehow get a fuzzy guard set up, you can get a short up heavy kick on some standing characters. But even then, it's like you have to kind of time it like Strider's, because Strider doesn't really have a good instant overhead. You know, perfectly space it. Not that great. His short hop also not that great. And then we also have a command normal in the air, which is jump forward fierce, or forward heavy punch. This one's actually not bad for, it's mostly used for combos, but it can generally be good for just like an active hitbox while coming down. I typically use it in a mix-up with Spidey on incoming, where I throw out a web ball, tag in a Venom, and then I'll dash, or I'll corpse hop so that right as they're coming in, so it looks like I'm going to be under for the cross-up, and then I'll air dash back and then just do that, and it'll be meaty. So as soon as they land, if they're trying to block low, they're actually going to get hit in the head, and then it's going to combo into the web ball. It's generally just better for, it's alright for air-to-airs, but it's, you know, not the best. It's mainly used for combos, mainly to set up your heavy Venom Fang for those extensions. Then we have his web zip. This is his, if you've played any Venom player online, you know, they'll like to do Power Stone and just harass people with it. It's one of his best movement options. He can, as I said before, he can do up back, up forward, and straight up on the ground. And then in the air, he can do down back, down forward, and down. One thing that's really important to note is that Spider-Man, one of his biggest flaws in the game is that when he does web zip, he actually cannot air dash. And in fact, he cannot air dash after any special until he hits the ground. Venom, it's the opposite. He, you know, he can air dash anytime he wants after the web zip. So that's really important to note. So generally, your air dash is going to be preferable to save over your web zip with Venom, as it's opposite with Spider-Man, where you want to use your air dash first if you're going to. Simply because if you do web zip down forward, a lot of times it's a very huge commitment. If the opponent blocks the web zip, they can get the punish. They can, you know, if they're not even in that situation, they can just, like, you know, Zonte can come down with Helmbreaker, or, you know, do something, get you pressured. It just puts you in a bad position normally. But you have your air dash back to, you know, just bail on any commitment that you would make otherwise. His air dash, or his web zip down, it typically carries the momentum of whatever jump you do. So if you see right when I'm air dashing, right before he actually gets the zip to connect, he slowly moves forward. So you got to be careful about how you space the web zip when you're doing it down, because if you start it right above where Winter Soldier is, you end up a lot of times actually whiffing and landing behind them, and that's the last thing you want to do, is zipping down where the opponent can punish you because you missed. So there's the web zip. The other specials are Venom Fang. That's light punch, and this is heavy punch. One thing to note about the light punch and heavy punch is that if you notice with the heavy punch, he's actually airborne during it. And the light punch, he stays grounded. So, if you notice, I'm able to actually cancel into Death Bite halfway through the light punch Venom Fang. But through the heavy one, I can't do it until I hit the ground. So, the light punch Venom Fang is generally used at the end of a string if they're push blocking to keep them locked down so your point character can get in and, get things started. And, generally, it's better if they don't push block. Because there are times during your strings where the push block will be so great that it'll actually, if you do too many normals, you'll be pushed almost full screen, and the light Venom Fang will actually completely whiff, and then they have perfect opportunity to punish Venom and or your other character if you're tagging to try to make it safe. So the light punch one is generally good at the end of a string. The heavy punch one is generally I prefer to use it for setups where the opponent might potentially up back, because as you can see, it will reach to the top of the normal jump height at its apex. One thing to note about this is that there's no way to combo after it on the ground by yourself. Like, that was me mashing heavy, because as you can see, it's negative on hit. And in fact, you can't even combo into Venom Web. So, generally, if you're going to use the grounded one, be sure that you're either going to super cancel to make it safe, like into Death Bite, or you're going to storm cancel, like by putting him in the box or whatever, or you're tagging. Like, you should never be using the grounded one almost at any point if Venom is the only character. There are so many other better options that you can do during that. The aerial ones, they're generally best to alter your trajectory as you're going down. So if the opponent has blocked the web zip, but they're dodged the web zip, and they're like hanging back trying to punish Venom on the way down, there's a lot of times where you can just like, so if we do zip down there, you see that Venom lands probably about half screen from full screen at that point. Now if we do, he lands a bit closer with the Venom Fang, so it alters his trajectory. That's basically just used to mix up the opponent. You want to use it sparingly, because if you use it too predictably, you can get easily punished for it, and also the landing recovery from it will generally get you punished. The one important thing to note is that the hitbox on it is really not that great. I like to compare it to Shumagarath's Mystic Smash, which was the pincushion, as everyone called it, in Marvel 3. The hitbox on it was absolutely terrible in relation to the hurtbox. A lot of people could just throw out a jab and punish it. And it didn't really require very complex timing or anything. You could just simply throw it out and it would beat it. You could throw him out of it. It's just not a very good hitbox. It's only generally good if the opponent is stuck in some sort of block stun, or they're trying to up back in a situation where they would get hit, or they did something where they're trying to catch you on the landing out of a zip or an air dash or something, and you just do it to land on top of them instead of landing in front of them. The next specials we have are the Venom Traps. So the Venom Traps are one of his most important tools to have. Not only do they create real estate, just by, for those that don't know, if the opponent is over it at any point, this big L's mouth will come out of the ground and capture them, which is terrifying. Especially because you can't get over it. It looks like it's straight out of a horror movie. So one thing that's really important to note, though, is that the light kick one, oh, God bless, always goes right in front of Venom. The heavy kick one is a special one where if you hold down the button after you do it, you can charge it and change the placement of it. So I can put it half screen. I can put it where the light kick one is. I can put it right in front of the opponent. I can put it all the way behind the opponent. Absolutely full screen. And also, I can just not charge it at all, and it actually lands closer to Venom, where you can see his foot's in it, and it's a lot closer to the opponent. So if you're expecting the opponent to possibly be closer to you, they're going to be like doing a front teleport, for instance, and the light kick might not work in that space, or they're going to end up right above you. It's a lot better to use it in that situation. However, the heavy kick Venom Trap actually has more recovery to it. So I was able to do a jab decently faster than the light kick one. The heavy one, you have to wait for the Venom Trap to even be in place and activated before you can jab. So it's generally the situation we want to use these are if the opponent is up backing, like say Dante is charging airplay, or Ultron's just chilling in the stratosphere, calling drones and trying to pull you into them. I like to use Venom Trap to actually just push it all the way full screen and catch them if they get complacent, if they overcommit to something. So like Doctor Strange, if he's trying to drop an eye, or if he's trying to set up daggers of Denock, or if he's trying to throw out a flame, set up glyphs, any of that. If Dormammu tries to anticipate you going to super jump height and doing dark holes and whatnot, any of those situations, if there's any point where you're able to force the opponent to commit to something in anticipation of you not being full screen on the ground, it's generally best to lay the Venom Trap. There's a lot of times, though, with certain characters, I like to lay it just in front, especially if I'm playing Space Stone. I can pull them right into it. One thing to note is that if a fireball or something comes into contact with it, or Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto, for instance, the trap will get nullified by that projectile, and it will actually not catch the opponent even though it's hitting them. So generally, what I tend to do is, if it doesn't catch them, I actually prefer that situation, because then I get to it forces them into block stun. They either have to push block to stay in the air, which you can either, if you anticipate that, you can catch them with the web zip, and then do heavy in a venom barrel or something, get some lockdown, or catch them for trying to do something after they push block, or they'll fall into it as you can lay a Venom Rush, which is his next special attack. So Venom Rush is this wonderful move where it looks like all these symbiote snakes are coming out of the ground. It controls a lot of real estate. I forgot to mention Venom Trap is positive on block, so it's if they don't push block, it's generally good to end strings with it. Venom Rush, though, is horrendously positive. Even if you manage to push block it correctly, it's still at least +4. Like, you will still beat jabs out with it, and that is a big thing. Not to mention, it also ignores push block, as does Venom Trap. So I can do Venom Rush all day here. And I want to say Venom Rush is at least +10 or +12 on block without push blocking it. So if someone is not push blocking it, which is a terrible idea, or at least doesn't know the push block timing for it, you can actually take advantage of it in situations where if they try to up back out of it, you can actually catch them low before they leave the ground. Like they're not even in the pre-jump frames by the time your dash up low comes out. And also, jab is fantastic to do after it. There's just a lot of things that you can do. It is Venom's best tool, period. It gets your point character set up. Like, you have all day to just mix up the opponent. Like, I have enough time to just, get to the other side and get left, right, high, lows going with Spidey. And there's not very many situations where I can get left, right started when I have the opponent locked down because of perfect block. So typically the objective that you want to do with Venom is to try to, at some point, get them locked down with Venom Rush so that you can get your point character started, which generally, I would say the best characters would be Spidey, Zero, Nova, Chun-Li, just characters that are absolutely strong at point. Ultron even, Dante goes with everybody. Rocket Raccoon could even do decently well with Venom. But the main thing is just being able to find find the opportunity to lock your opponent down with Venom Rush, because it's anytime you can get a Venom Rush out that's good, you're winning. So one thing I forgot to mention is on hit, it actually combos in itself. You can actually do it 4 times. Another thing to note, heavy does not go full screen. So you can go 1, 2. Oh. It's kind of hard at time to get all the hits. God bless. So you can actually combo into it 4 times. After a light kick one, you can you have all day to do it. And then the last special. Wait, there's 2 more specials. So second to last special is Venom Throw, as I just demonstrated. Very savage projectile that when it connects with the opponent, it slams them down to the ground. You have opportunities to combo after it, or generally it's very good at the end of a combo if you're not wanting to burn any meter because you won't kill the opponent. It's very good for a setup. The Light Venom Throw, I believe they're both the same speed, but it's very easy to actually pick up off the Light Venom Throw. Because if, as you see, he slides in and actually has a hitbox like it's a tag hit. And then you have all day to do light kick, launch to pick up off of it. Or even if it doesn't hit, you can just go straight into light kick. And, you know, it's trivial. It's pretty decent speed, but any projectile will beat it out. You have to be very careful about when you throw either of the Venom throws, because there is a terrible amount of recovery to it. I was holding back the entire time, and that was as soon as I was able to act. The Heavy Venom Throw is actually a very interesting tool because, as you can see, we started in the corner, and we take them all the way to the other corner. Problem with this one, though, is that the timing on it is actually harder to confirm. And just to show you with the Light Venom Throw, we're going to end up at about mid-screen. Okay, so just outside the corner. But generally the Heavy Venom Throw is better at the end of a combo in order to, what's the best way, just to, you know, get a setup going. It lets you set up the Venom Trap, tag into your other character. If they tech forward, they'll end up right on top of the Venom Trap, and you'll be able to get some left rights going with your point character. If they end up staying back, you can actually stay with Venom and then just set up a meaty Venom Rush or Venom Fang or what have you to get better pressure with your point character instead of just simply tagging and then just having a trap out and nothing really to lock them down outside of that. The Heavy Venom Throw is it's almost at a 45-degree angle, whereas his Venom Throw, or Venom, okay, so I apologize. The zip and the throw are about 45-degree angles. Spidey's is like closer to about a 30-degree angle. So it's if you're playing both characters side by side, it's sort of hard to adjust to. I will say though that I believe Venom's web throws are actually faster than Spidey's. So generally in situations where Spidey's web throw would be a good option to punish the opponent, Venom's would be just as good, if not better. One thing to note is with the heavy web throw, since you don't get that slide hitbox because you're always throwing them into the corner, you can actually reach them with a sliding light kick. And if you tag off of it, then you're able to combo off of it. So Spidey was in the right place to hit. Normally, you can't get anything. I've tried like all sorts of things. The other instance is where you're right outside the corner. One thing that's really interesting is that, as you can see, there's a decent amount of distance, like a ground dash worth of space between Venom and the rest of the corner. So if I do heavy web throw, it'll actually put him right next to the opponent in the corner, which is very useful because you can actually get the pickup off of it. If I could time things today. I've not played this game at all today, so it's... Wow. I'm awful today. Or every day. You can interpret it however you want. So as you can see, I was able to actually get the combo there. Yeah. One thing that's important to note is right outside of center screen. That wasn't the right spot. Yeah, this should be it. So, nope, that's not it. There's a spot, it's like right outside the A or like on the edges of the A if you're playing on Avengers Tower, where if you do a heavy web throw into the corner where you're closer to the corner, you will actually not get the slide and you will not be right next to them in the corner. At that point, you actually have to, the timing gets harder where you actually have to do a dash up crouching light kick into the tag in order to actually get the timing to pick up. So it's... when you're landing a web throw with Venom, it's very important to always recognize where you're at on the stage in order to just anticipate what type of pickup you're going to have to do. So the final special he has is an aerial one only that's called Venom Barrel. It's actually the same motion as web throw, which is quarter circle back. So we do quarter circle back again. He flies across the screen, it's a multi-hit move, and the last hit is actually a bigger hitbox. Let's see if I can space it out correctly. So as you can see, the hitbox for the last hit is much larger. And what happens is if you hit him with it and they're close enough, it actually wall bounces and hard knockdown. So generally, it's best for pickups and extensions. There's not many opportunities we're going to want to use it as a punish because of the heavy commitment. As you can see, I'm doing it up here, and I'm not able to actually recover until much later. And the heavy one goes at an upward angle. Was I not able to? So you can't actually recover to that one until much later. One thing that's really important to note is that if you don't have the opportunity to tag into your other character, like you just tagged into them or they're dead, and you combo into Venom Barrel, if the opponent has 2 bars, they will be able to counter tag at that instance, and they will punish you 99% of the time. If they're aware of it, they're going to catch you. So one thing that's really important to note is to try to omit any potential Venom Barrels that you use in your combos where the opponent would have the opportunity to counter tag. Typically, the Venom Barrel, though, is really good in certain combos. You're able to get some interesting conversions off of it as they fall. You can actually get double Venom Rushes at the end, or double Venom Barrels at the end of combos. And that's actually really good for a lot of damage. There's really not much to say about the special. If you're going to be converting into it off of an air-to-air, you can typically get an OTG, and it generally gives you a lot of big damage. One thing that's really nice about Venom is that he pretty much almost always gets 6,000 for 1 bar at least off of any combo if you just know the general principle of trying to include 1 Venom Fang and 2 Venom Barrels in every combo. But yeah, if the opponent's above you, there's a chance that the Light Punch Venom Rush would or Venom Barrel would whiff. So you generally want to use the Heavy Punch one in that instance. There's a lot of instances where you can catch someone off of a straight Heavy Punch, and then you can actually get the re-jump with a Light Kick or Light Punch. You can super jump and everything, and then go to the Venom Barrel after that. So generally, you want to try to It's the best way to convert off of something easily, but there are situations where generally you want to try to avoid converting straight into it in the event that you're not reacting to the hit, you're anticipating the hit, and then they block it, and then you're in a really bad position. Moving on, now that I've covered all the specials, he has 3 hyper combos. His first one, if any of you have played online, you probably hate it a ton. It's Venom Web. It's also his easy super, quarter circle forward punches, works in the air. One thing to note about Venom Web is, just like Spidey's Maximum Spider, he is invincible until he is in place. It is not invincible on frame 1, but once he starts moving, he is invincible before the flash. So once he becomes in place after the flash, if there's something already active on top of where he's at, it will actually hit him out of it before the web comes out. One thing that's really weird about the super is that I like to call it a non-cinematic cinematic, because I actually got Winter Soldier playing Reality Stone, so that actually works really good in this instance. So we're going to pop Reality Storm here and get that fire going. So I'm going to punish Winter Soldier here. As you can see, he started hitting Winter Soldier. I'll go ahead and show you the full animation of it while I'm talking about it. But the thing is at any point he starts where the opponent is encased and he starts beating up on him, during that multi-hit part, he is completely vulnerable. Anything that hits him will knock him out of the super. And the one thing that's really important to note is that if the opponent will die from the super, they will not die until he does the Venom Rush at the very end, or the Venom Fang. So right when he flies, right there, that is the first point where the opponent will actually die. Any point after that, before that, if the hit would be lethal, it will not kill them. So if they get hit out of it before that Venom Fang, the opponent will actually stay alive. So there will be a lot of instances when I'm playing in tournament where if the opponent will die off of any hit, I'll just jump up there with Spidey and hit them just to kill them immediately, so that I don't have to worry about that situation. Also, at max hit stun deterioration, they will actually flip out before the Venom Fang. So that's a really terrifying moment that you should also be considerate of if Venom Web would normally kill them. So that's pretty much everything to cover about that one. One thing that's really important to note with Venom is that if you don't like to play easy hyper because you think it's too scummy and all of that, I would highly advise that you consider playing it if you're going to play Venom, because there are a lot of instances where, like Maximum Spider with Spider-Man, for instance, or playing against other Venoms in the mirror, it will actually punish them. You can during any hyper flash or tag, you can hold down 2 buttons, and it will the heavy punch and heavy kick, and it will actually buffer the Venom Web on the first available frame. So it's actually very important for people that, if they're trying to do easy hypers, make sure you keep them in check, and not, or if they're doing like wake up supers that are invincible, like Monster Hunters, for instance, if you time it correctly, you can actually have Venom hop up there after the sword's already past him, so that you will actually punish Monster Hunter. It's pretty much the only reason why I use the easy hyper, is to keep other invincible hypers in check. Now, I'm going to switch to having Zero as my opponent for this next part, because it is absolutely hilarious. His other super is Death Bite, which is basically just a gigantic version of Venom Rush. And for some reason, it has, I think, the best durability in the game out of any projectile. So we're going to do Genmu Zero with Zero. And we're going to watch as the Zero reacts to Genmu Zero, or to Death Bite with Genmu Zero. We're going to watch Genmu Zero get beaten out and Zero get hit. So he's going to pop Reality Storm. We're going to do Death Bite in anticipation for it. He's going to do Genmu 0. Gets beaten out. He gets hit. Really, really, really important. There's basically no other super that will beat out Death Bite. One important thing to note, though, is that something just like Venom Web, if something is already on top of him or is about to hit him on the first available frame or the first couple available frames, it will actually hit him before he gets the chance to actually shoot out the Death Bite. The thing is, though, is that if Venom gets hit after the Death Bite has come out, it will stay out. So you have to be careful about when you choose to use it to basically control the screen, prevent the opponent from doing anything scummy, and basically just or even punish them if it's a Happy Birthday situation. The instances I like to use Death Bite are, aside from Happy Birthday combos, where I've just taken possession of the corner and have all the screen to, take advantage of as many hits as possible, is during Soulstorm or during Space Storm. So during those two, I prefer to try to get out as many Death Bites as possible. One for Soulstorm is that a lot of people that use Soulstorm, unlike myself, have teleport characters, and teleporting behind Venom while Death Bite is active, it will actually catch them. So if you watch very carefully, the snakes all start up and behind Venom. So if you teleport behind him with Strider, with Dante, with Dormammu, anyone, the Death Bite will actually catch them and then pull them forward. So it prevents the opponent from getting Venom in between two characters, and it also catches the opponent if they're trying to do any cross-up scummy stuff in Soulstorm. In Space Storm, it just controls a lot of real estate because a lot of people are like, oh, we have him in the box. The thing, though, is that the box is only 8 seconds for one bar, 16 seconds for two. It's not too much time. So Death Bite helps control a lot of that time and just gives the opponent less options and less time to work with in order to try to capitalize off of putting you in the box. In fact, Venom's actually one of my favorite characters to play in the box. Not only do I feel more confident when people are trying to apply pressure on me, just because I can anticipate what options they're going to try to do to mix me up. Venom just has a lot of things that are able to control the space outside of the box as well as inside the box. Like, you can place a Venom trap in the box, and then you can just do a bunch of Venom rushes or Venom webs, Venom throws. Just a lot of things that will keep the opponent honest. They have to be very intricate and very careful about where they place things while you're in the box. So yeah, Death Bite is wonderful. It's not one of those lockdown supers like $1 Million or whatever Winter Soldier has. That's basically the new $1 Million. It's not Gravimetric Blast or anything. It doesn't lock down for that long, so you really don't have much time to work with it. In certain situations, though, if you're going to chip someone out or you think they're going to try to tag in a certain situation to keep a character alive, it is good to get your other character in to apply some pressure, but I prefer to use it just to beat out projectiles that I anticipate, like Genmu 0. Excuse me. Or to stall out any storms. Startup on Death Bite, I actually don't think I found that. It's less than 29 frames is all I got. I still have a lot of the frame data that I need to work out, particularly the jump normals, which are really hard for me because I don't have the program that Tool Assisted was using. And the specials are also just so slow compared to everything else. And they're very variable at when they make contact, so it's really awkward to set them up. So the last super he has is his level 3. So I'm just going to do it with the Storm. Death Bite. Or, not Death Bite. Venom Bash. So, this looks really painful, right? 5,300 damage, you think, that's not bad. Well, the thing is, at the end of a combo, because it's so few hits, it actually does very insignificant damage. Almost to the point where if I have the option to do Venom level 3, I would much rather do Venom Web into Maximum Spider. It really just does not give you as much damage as you want half the time. Like doing a triple super sometimes feels more important than actually getting the Death Bite or the Venom Bash. One thing that's really important to note is that before it goes on to the cinematic, it's just a giant light punch, or it's just a light punch Venom thing. So if they happen to block it and you have the opportunity to tag, basically if you're just trying to, you only really do this if there's Soulstorm. But if you're just trying to cash out your level 3 so that you get your resurrected character, you don't have to risk losing both characters within the storm, or losing opportunity cost, or having the opportunity cost of not getting that Soulstorm meter for when the character dies and you just used it before they rezzed. It can be used as a minor lockdown tool. That's a lot of resources to waste for just one small lockdown, though. Like, that's a shorter period of time than Death Bite. And I already explained how Death Bite is not that great of a lockdown super. So now that we've covered all of his moveset and everything, I'll show you his throws. Back throw, you don't really get anything off of it. Yeah, like his only throw that you really want to care about is this grounded forward throw. This one encases the opponent in webs, and you're actually able to get a full combo off of it. So I was able to get 2,600 meterless, which is actually pretty decent. That's almost the equivalent of a level 1 super raw. I think Venom Web, for instance, is like 3,500. Okay, 3,300. So we're even closer. So if we just go into it, I'm able to get at least 3,000. I just got more than the raw super, which is very important because 3,000. If 6,000 damage is the acceptable level 1 minimum for using 1 bar off of a stray hit, 3,000 is the acceptable minimum for the damage off of a throw using 1 bar. His aerial throws he can't actually get anything off of. You either have to use the throw glitch. Oops. Kind of hard to do. Well, anyways, you can do a throw glitch where you can actually combo into a throw with a character that normally can't. Spidey actually can, but we'll talk about that some other day. But otherwise, you can't really combo into throws. Generally, you have to go into the setups with the air throws or the ground back throw. Ground back throw is generally best to use if you're going to be putting the opponent in the corner and you're not going to, for some reason, be able to combo off of a forward throw. So it's generally like a good option select for, while blocking or push blocking or something. So yeah, that's his entire moveset. Guess we'll get into the basics now. So we'll start with combos. Generally with the combos, if they're grounded, you want to try to go into the mouth. At that point, you have a lot of opportunity to freestyle. If it's a taller character like Iron Man, well, it works. You can actually continue some interesting strings. God bless. So I was actually able to get 2 crumples in that combo because of how tall the opponent is. I can get zip cancel. But for the most part, you're going to be going into the mouth. You can push forward if you need to. You want to go into Venom Fang at one point, and with Death or Venom Barrel, and you can get 2 at that point. A lot of people will like if it's like an air confirm, for instance, or if they don't go into the crumple. A lot of people like to go into Venom Barrel first. to get this like air-to-air thing going. I'm not too big on it. I like to keep things basic with my Venom combos, just to ensure I don't mess anything up. I like to keep my Spidey complex, because Venom is a pretty straightforward character. So typically what I like to do is I'll go into the crumple, push forward if I need to get my setup, go into Venom Fang, go into Venom Barrel, link the heavy punch into the second Venom Barrel, and then at that point, if I'm going to be able to kill, I'll do the Venom Web. If not, I go into a setup with Spidey, because with Spidey I'm able to actually get better setups. So with that, that's generally what I typically do. If I start the hit with the point character, I'll typically try to either set up a Venom trap in the corner and then just force them into a really bad situation. So like at that point, I get to do all the high-lows and stuff while a Venom trap is there. So if they ever forward tech or if they ever try to escape the corner with the whatever window they manage to find in my pressure, the mouth will be there to cover me as well. The other thing I like to do is at the end of a combo, like I said before, I'll go into Venom Throw. Oh. You'll see it in a second. Let's do it with Iron Man. I like to go into Venom Web at that point, because then I can lay the trap. And if they forward tech, they'll actually be right on top of the trap right before it activates, and I get to tag into Spidey. And then I get left, right, high, low with the trap. And the trap is the meaty part, the left, rights, and everything. It's basically the equivalent of Venom's, or not Venom's, Jetta's little slash setup, where he throws the pinwheel in the corner, and then if you tech forward, he does the slash, and then he tags, and then he can manipulate what side the point character is on to make it a left-right, and then still have all the pressure afterwards, forcing the opponent to, generally burn a resource, like an invincible super. Well, not invincible super because you don't want to do that setup in that situation, but like burn their Infinity Storm or something just to avoid the mix-up. But at that point, if they tech back, if they tech neutral, I can just lay the Venom Rush or Zip and then go into a heavy. I have a lot of options to cover at that point. So that's generally what you want to do meterless. At the end of a combo, for instance, typically what you want to do if you're extending off of the point character, you want to try to find an opportunity to get them in a Venom trap. Because at that point, what you can do is you can do, we'll say, for instance, in the Soul Storm, you can do Venom Rush straight into level 3, and the Venom Rush actually does a significant amount of damage at the end of a combo. So there's a lot of opportunities for damage. If for some reason you have to do the supers to get all the setups, for instance, like you don't have a character like Spider-Man that's able to put them in a capture state that lasts a long time, or some sort of like cinematic that's meterless, so you have to use the super to set up the Venom Web or the Venom Trap. At that point, if it's not going to kill, I would highly recommend going into the web throw. With smaller characters, you have to set up how you do the web throw in a different way. Like if you're able to preemptively set up the Venom Trap and then go straight into it, what typically happens is before the Venom Trap actually gets all the way to the ground, you can catch them out of it. So, for instance, if we do like they have to be a little higher than that, I guess. Let's see if I can do it. No. Well, anyways, typically, with my setup at least, as you saw from the web throw, you can get the Venom throw before they actually hit the ground, so that they're still higher up in the air, where the heavy web throw won't whiff on them. On taller characters, you don't have to worry about it. it's fine. One important thing to note with Venom Trap is that ever since the patch that removed the Reality Stone Infinite with Spider-Man, where he could just do Web Ball, Reality Stone, Web Ball, Reality Stone, Web Ball, Reality Stone, the combo counters now have an infinite prevention system that only allows you to do 3 capture states in a combo. So if I start with Venom Trap, I cannot combo today, I swear. Well, anyways, what typically happens after the 3rd capture state, the first hit that connects while they're in that capture state, they will do that flip out animation where they go at the super jump height. If you pay attention to Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and saw whenever you got like a 50 hit combo or something, or in this game, like if you jab someone 22 times while you're in the box, or hit someone with Power Stone twice in a combo, they'll go into that spin out state that'll actually prevent the opponent from, or prevent you from getting the combo. So be mindful if you start your combo with a Venom Trap. There are a lot of instances where I catch someone with a Web Ball or a Venom Trap at the start of a combo, and then I try to do that super cool combo that I showed you, where I end with the Venom Throw, put them in the corner, lay the trap, you know, and then decide based on how the opponent attacks what I'm doing. There's a lot of instances where as soon as I do that Web Throw, it'll actually send them up in the air. Or if I try to do some really extended combo, to try to get like triple supers going and then finish in a level 3, there's a lot of instances where that will prevent me from getting any further extensions. Another thing to note is that his forward throw counts as a capture state. So at the same time, if you start your combo with a Venom Trap, it's the same as starting a throw, where you make sure you do not use 2 more capture states in the combo. Another thing people like to do in terms of combos is when they get the crumple, they like to go straight into the trap. And at that point, you can get some really cool stuff. You can actually go into a Venom Rush. Problem is you can't OTG, though, after you crumple, because that counts as your OTG. So be mindful of that. So, yeah. Next part is just, you know, typical setups and everything. Oh, yes. Venom, while he's not that strong of a point character, actually does have some tools to actually open the opponent up. So, while we do have the frame traps and everything, some useful frame traps would include, like, jab in the mouth. They push block at the wrong time, they will get crumpled. Really big. Jab in a roundhouse is generally good because it's a slow normal. Jab in a sweep. Really slow, but manages to, you know, create a large gap in between on block. So there's a lot of frame traps you can do with that. You know, just jab and a throw. Make them think you're going into throw, delay it just a hair, and get the mouth before that actually comes out, or into the heavy. Another thing to note is that in the corner, he's actually got a little high-low game. So I can go tag into heavy punch, and then I'll actually connect on a lot of characters. So what you want to try to do is, in the corner, you don't want to get it buffered immediately, because as you can see, he actually will ride the momentum. In the corner, if you manage to get it as close as possible, he'll just do like that little short hop. And you can actually, well, you can fake the opponent out for one. But you can actually get it so that it should hit crouching 0. So as you can see, if I ride the momentum, it'll whiff. If I stall it or delay it just a hair, it will actually connect. This is something I've been doing since Marvel 3 with Spider-Man when they first introduced the web zip. You can actually fake it and go low. And it's relatively fast if you have the opponent locked down. There's a lot of times that they'll get scared and, you know, all that. So he does have a high-low game. It's just, you know, it's situational. It's risky against characters like Rocket Raccoon, where it's like, you know, it's not that easy to actually hit Rocket overhead when he's crouching, because a lot of times things low profile, and if you're off by just a hair, it will whiff, and then you'll get hit. And then his little coup de grace, I guess, of mix-ups is whenever you have the opponent locked down. This was found by Mix-Up about a month after the character came out. Short hop downs it. So the beautiful thing about this, I can land in front, I can land behind, and generally if you do it at the right height, you can come down with a normal. Like that. You have to be careful about how you buffer it. The timing is really kind of wacky. But if you manage to get the light, you can combo in a standing light if you're not bad like I am. Or you can just go straight into the low. Or on block, you can go straight into throw. I'll show that real quick. All guard, not auto guard. Also forgot to mention web zip does negate push block. So that's really important. And if they try to back out of it, you got your jabs. And his jab is pretty tall, so it's a lot of you'll generally catch him in the pre-jump frames and you'll get the hit. So that's actually really useful at times where they're locked down. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much all the mix-ups he has, period. He's not very mix-up heavy character. There are situations like a lot of people will like to, you know, with a teleport character, they'll like to do Venom Web plus tag, and then get some left-rights going with that. But generally, that's Venom being the support character, supplying mix-ups for the point, or yes, for the point character. Excuse me. So, at that point, basically, we just need to discuss strategy, character synergy, and stone synergy. So we're going to start with strategy. Basically, the whole point is to, like I said before, you want to try to harass people with the frame traps when Venom is able to, you know, get in to apply the pressure. But the most important thing is, if you have a point character that is very terrifying at, you know, opening the opponent up, you want to try to find a way to get into Venom Fang, into Venom Rush, get your Venom Trap laid, or, you know, any lockdown potential. It could even be Tiger Knee Venom Barrel in situations that you would get like resets and everything. So, as you can see, I have a lot of time. Like, I was able to go for 2 highs just now. I can... Oh. It's better showed on the corner, I guess. Oh, the tag hit's connecting. That's why I can't do it. So, I can get left-rights going. I can get high-lows going. So, like, it's plenty of time for me to do anything, really. If I could, you know, space it and get the short hop correct. So, yeah. That's basically what the whole purpose of Venom is to try to get the opportunity to get your point character established. Another thing is Venom Trap. Anytime they block a Venom Trap on the ground is an opportunity to get the Venom Rush started. And if you, as you can see, if I'm doing the Venom Rush with the tag, I have plenty of time to just do all sorts of mix-ups. As I said before, I'll show you real quick where I should have had these teams a little more set up in advance. I apologize. Basically, like, there's like a character like Dante, for instance, or Strange, Ultron. There's a lot of situations where you won't be able to get in. You want to try to control the space with the zips. I don't know why I'm picking Dormammu right now, don't ask. Where's Dante? There he is. It's a very common team, by the way. You'll run into this team a lot. So you best be prepared for it, especially if you run into Zebu. Shout out to Zebu. That was who sent me the PSN invite earlier. So one thing to note is that Ultron is a character that likes to fight you by not fighting you. So if we go to like a lot of times you'll see them do this. Try to pull you into the drone. There's a lot of situations where it's like Venom can't really reach in that situation. So like I'll like try to zip him and then like try to get up there and everything, but the drone's just gonna catch me. And there's even situations where Venom Web doesn't work. So like I'm gonna try to punish him. You know, you got to be a little careful with it at least. So like I try to do it up here, smack. There's just like in that situation, the opponent could just react to me doing Venom Web and tagging and then punishing Venom. Or I can tag in response to his tag, and nothing really happens. The camera just is panned way up, so like sometimes I can try to catch the opponent off guard. But if they know better, basically they're going to be in a situation where they get to apply pressure, and I just wasted a bar. So there's a lot of situations where you can't mess with Ultron while this is going on. However, if you're full screen, you see him jump up, just like go ahead and throw out that Venom Trap. There's a lot of situations where it's like he has to go forward in order to deal with it. If he space stones, good for him. Like, you know, it'll armor through the trap, but you're still getting some damage, and you're not committing to anything just yet. And especially at that point, if he's just gonna try to space stone you again, you can either just back up and just try to avoid the situation. Don't worry, like don't feel like you have a reason where you have to go in. Basically, Venom doesn't have to fight these characters if they're not gonna approach him, because his main weakness is for people to apply full pressure from full screen or to be in his face with very fast buttons and very tight frame traps and everything. Another thing is Dante likes to airplay. What is it? Oh, it's light kick. I haven't played this character since 3, so it's been some time. So they have to be very mindful of the airplay, or with their airplay. You don't want to react to it when you see that they're charging it, because a lot of instances you will either get hit by the airplay or whatever they're trying to do. It's more of just an anticipatory sequence. Basically, you see that they jump. You see that they jump up back, and that you want to react to that when they do the double jump after that, typically, or they're charging the airplay or something. They generally have to release it immediately in order to nullify the Venom Trap, or they have to just be ready to block, because they will get caught by it, and then you get the free hit or anything. If they do happen to block it, there are situations where, as I said before, they can push block it to stay in the air. At that point, you can catch them with the Venom Web or the Venom Zip, Venom Glide, whatever it's called in this game. Or if they land on the ground, you can anticipate it with the Venom Rush tag and get a full combo. If it hits. If not, you're in their face already. You get free pressure. Fun. That's the whole point of the character. So he doesn't really have to force his way in. Like, you don't have to just try to, get the hit with Zip every time. In fact, Venom is not there to get the hit. Your point character is there to get the hit. Venom is there to set them up. Oh yeah, the whole shirt is. I felt like getting out my edgy little Venom shirt to go with this. Oh, also, I apologize for not paying attention to the chat. I will answer all questions and everything at the end of this. So, yeah, basically, you have to be mindful of how you're doing everything. You can sometimes just choose to try to check the opponent if they're full screen, just jumping at stuff or doing stuff. If you see that they don't jump, you can just backdash. One thing to note at the end of push blocks, you have to be careful about how you end them, and at what time you do the moves at the end of your pressure strings. So typically what I end up doing is I'll go like jab mouth, and then I'll typically watch how they push block. If they do push block, you have plenty of time to react with Venom Rush. Certain characters like Dante, though, if you're playing against someone that knows better, a lot of characters can actually dash if they catch you with a slow reaction. Can dash past the heavy Venom Rush and smack you. So if you know they're looking to do that, then you can just throw out the light Venom Rush to just keep everything in front of you clean. Other things to cancel into. These are ones that I personally don't use that I need to use more, are the Venom Glide cancels. God bless. So, generally in that situation it's not best, but if they're in the corner, you can, if they're not push blocking, it's generally good to go into. Off of, just one push block. The thing about his web zip heavy punch is that it's actually really hard to beat. I was running 1-0 Venom player that would just continuously do web zip heavy, and I would try to react to it with launch with both Spidey and Venom. I would try to react to it with Spider's thing. Almost every single time, the best outcome I got was just trade. It's a very high priority move, so there's a lot of times where it's just like Venom can sometimes just approach for free on certain characters that just don't have good anti-airs to deal with it. And that's something to be mindful of, like Dormammu, for instance. However, there's a lot of times where like you don't want to zip forward, but you want to stay safe. So if you see that they're push blocking a lot, you can do web zip back, and keep yourself safe. Or you can sort of stay neutral with it. You can make it a little more ambiguous as to what you're going to do next, which doesn't force yourself to commit to something. Keeps the opponent guessing, and you can either air dash back, air dash forward. Sorry. Just fly up in the air if you really need to. Just be mindful that you cannot zip afterwards. So once you zip once in the air or on the ground, you cannot zip again in the air. You have to wait until you land. So yeah, like a lot of people will typically use standing roundhouse at the end of their strings. I prefer to use the mouth, probably because I'm just my pressure swings really aren't that great. I'm not very much of a frame trap guy. I'm more of the neutral movement heavy kind of player. So typically I'm not very good with them. So there's a lot of options off of the pressure that you can get. In terms of resets, there's really not too many things you can go for. Like, there's some silly stuff with the crumple. Like, you can, get the side switch. That's fun. You can also get, if I can do it. Okay, it just doesn't want to do it. On taller characters, it's a lot easier, but typically if you get the side switch, you can get, you reset them with the standing jab as you're flying, or with the jump jab as you're zipping past them. And then you can do a auto-corrected Venom barrel that goes the other way. And if they're not switching the block, it's very reminiscent of like Dante mix-ups and everything, where you'll see a lot of Dantes. They'll do like million stabs into bold cancel, air dash forward, that little slash. And if you're not prepared for it, it will actually be a standing reset into a cross up, and then they're able to set play your character before you even get the chance to build the second bar to counter tag to save that character. So you have to be very mindful of situations like that in terms of defense. But Venom does have the opportunity to take advantage if your opponent is getting complacent or is not paying attention or is just not aware. So there's fun stuff with that. Other things to note are you can do okay, that really doesn't work as well. There's all sorts of situations where you can just get the Venom trap established. If they try to, it's not really a situation that you want to go for necessarily. It's if you're able to catch the opponent holding forward in like mid-screen situations, that's generally when you want to try to get that trap established and you're able to catch them out of stuff. Heavy kick Venom trap would be the preferred trap to use in that situation, simply because they will tech forward. So there's a lot of times where they would actually pass over Venom, and you want it to be active further back. So you want the one that's closer to you. Oh yes. Actually, I do need to go back to Spidey. So my particular reset that I typically go for is, actually I need Spidey on point for this. So my general setup is if I get the hit with Spidey, I will get him into the web ball, then I will back up, place the Venom trap, and then I will force an air reset to where they're flipping out just above the ground. And then at that situation, I'm able to put something meaty out like a Venom Rush, Venom Barrel, or Venom Fang, and it forces the opponent into a lockdown where I then get the opportunity to reset from there. And so typically what I do is, I'll set auto guard's fine. So let's say I got the hit. Keep it simple. And then I go, as soon as I get the hit, God bless. As soon as I get the hit, I go straight into super, because then I'm able to kill a character very quickly. 9,000 health character would be dead. 10,000, I have to be a little more, if it's like off of immediate hit and like I didn't happen to like chip them a little bit or get stray hits going, I have to be a little more mindful about how I finish it. So they do have windows typically to counter tag, but if they had already burned the bar, or the bar they start with, they would never get the opportunity to save their character. So there's a lot of very advantageous things to take into account when you're able to get the trap set up. So that was with Venom Fang. And then Venom Rush here. They neutral tech, it typically doesn't reach as well. But and like any other tech, it will work. Oh, sorry, that was because it was up back. If we do just back tech. It will catch them. So there's not really many opportunities for. I guess with Venom I can do. I can do like light kick instead, and that will actually keep them lower to the ground than the mouth, for instance, and that will make the Venom Rush meaty. Then there's all sorts of other options. Like you can just kind of do whatever you want, really. Like Venom Barrel works nicely if they're not going to push block. Chances are they're going to push block, though. Let's face it. If they're not going to up tech, though, you can actually get hard to blockable setups going. Yeah, so basically a lot of the situations are you're going to try to set up a Venom trap, like if you're not playing Spidey, for instance. You want to set up the Venom trap to where it'll capture them later so that you can place another Venom trap in front of it and then knock them out of that Venom trap or, force the reset so that you can, then try to just control the situation as much as possible. Try to get as much meterless damage as you can without giving the opportunity to counterattack so that you can get your second hit so that you can kill off their character. It's just all about, setting up these situations with Venom where it's like you want to... The ideal situation is always going to be they're into the corner, the Venom trap's in front of them, the Venom Rush is locking them down, and the point character has all day to try to open them up. If they counter tag, the Venom trap is waiting there. If they tag at any point, the slide from the tag will actually, make them fall, go right into the Venom trap. There's just so many different things that they have to worry about when the Venom trap is active. One thing I forgot to mention, though, this is important for fighting against Venom, as well as fighting other Venoms in the mirror, is that the trap can actually be just hit away with normals, and they also go away when Venom gets hit. So we'll go to record. So you can see it went away from me just smacking it. And I can also just hit him, and it will go away. So that's it for in terms of the actual just moveset and strategy with Venom. Next we have the stone synergies. So typically, when you go online, you're going to see a lot of people picking Power Stone. Why? Well, it gives you a lot of really easy confirms, And also, if someone's blocking, like low for instance, there's a lot of times you can get some left-right going. So that was forward. That was the cross-up. So, like against certain players, you can use it in terms of it's a very strong defensive tool for Venom. It gives him a faster button that's like a lot higher priority. Even though his normals are fairly high priority, it gives him better options in terms of that downward trajectory, because his jump normals, like I said, really aren't that great. Jump Fierce is amazing, but as you can see, it doesn't really cover his legs or that far below him. The Power Stone typically will cover that whole like under. I can't think of like a PG way to describe it. His undercarriage, I guess. It covers that. As you can see, it like covers everything below him. So it's a strong defensive stone in terms of just forcing people to respect you in situations where like you have to deal with like Dante's big normals that are better than your big normals, and that are faster than your big normals. It keeps people in check that way. It's more of a defensive stone, which is what we'll start to see. You're not really going to see people actually mixing up off of it because it's really not that kind of stone. And as the meta, starts to transition away from scrambles and everything, where we actually start to see more clean neutral like we did in Marvel 3, it's basically just going to be good to catch people off guard if their game is not 100% tight, 100% clean. If they drop a combo or something, it's good to capitalize off of that. But capitalizing off of the opponent's mistakes are a defensive trait. There's not going to be really many situations where you're going to be getting some left-right mix-ups with Venom, because as more people learn the matchup, they're going to understand the trajectories better with the web or with the glide. Like, I'm not going to be able to cross up there. I can cross up there, but you have to wait for me to go all the way over. So it's just, you can kind of option select how it's going to go all down. You can just like switch the block as soon as you know it's going to happen. It's like in Street Fighter where it's like someone does like an empty jump low. It's like, well, for the most part, if it's like Abigail or something, someone that's very slow, or like has if it's like Dalsum has like very slow, floaty jump trajectory, you can react to if they're not doing any falling overheads and they're going into the low, or if they're just going to do the overhead. It's all very reactionary. And Power Storm doesn't really give him anything aside from big damage. Sure, ignoring people's push blocks is really fun and all, but for the most part, Venom actually kind of wants you to push block, because Venom Rush, as I said before, is his best move. The frame traps do not work as well in someone's face when Venom Rush is one of the slower specials, because there's actually a nice gap where, like, even if they mistime a push block, they will just launcher you by accident, or they will hit you with a light kick, or, any of those situations. Typically, Venom wants you to push block. So it's good when you're first learning the character, so like if you're not used to getting the conversions down that you need, and all of that, but I will describe it as a crippling stone for this character. The way that people try to use Power Stone with Spider-Man, it is not nearly as useful with Venom. As for the other stones, I personally believe that I would say another bad one is Mind Stone. There are some interesting applications to it, though. One would be, so we're going to set the opponent to jumping and blocking. So, oh, he got a super jump. That was weird. You can actually use it as a, oh, push block needs to be off to get this better. Or no. Typically, you can actually get a full screen tick throw. Like that. So, that's something that's, sort of wacky, but it's an interesting mix-up, and you know, it's fun to do in like casuals. But the thing is that Venom already has access to a strong frame trap throw game, and you know, scaring the opponent into lower throw is really not ideal in a Marvel game. That's really the best you get out of it. Otherwise, the Storm, it's like you get more meter, so you can get more like scummy Venom web hits, or like left-right stuff with that if you have a teleport character. Or you can lock the opponent down with Death Bite, you know, to like stall certain stuff out. Just, you know, access to more meter really doesn't give anything Venom desires or can take full advantage of. Next one will be Time Stone. I went a full amount of time trying to dissect this, but there really isn't too much good stuff off of it. Something that's really funny is if you get the hit, you can use it to side switch. Or if you manage to get the crumple and you don't want to side switch, you can, you know, build some meter, which is nice. Problem is, though, is that the Storm is garbage. If you do manage to find something that's nice out of the Storm, he can go into Venom Rush faster. That's nice. Problem is, though, you cannot cancel Venom Fang at all. Normally on hit or block, you can cancel your specials into normals or other specials within Time Storm, but you cannot cancel into anything out of Venom Fang. You can only do supers like you traditionally normally can. He does get some hilarious combos. They corner carry. So, like, you can do. But it doesn't last for that long. 11 hits. Yeah, I mean, the best thing really is that the time surge is actually faster than all of his normals. It's actually frame 7 startup. So it would be his like quickest option, and it helps you get out of the corner and everything. But there's a lot of situations where, especially if you're by yourself, the opponent can just react to it by tagging or just like backdashing or something and then punishing because of the recovery. It is particularly useful in certain situations where the opponent leaves a bit of a gap in their frame traps. Or their pressure strings, like if Dante bold cancels off of like fireworks or something, or standing roundhouse into like box dash, like repeated pressure and stuff, or if Ultron does a flight cancel into like cat scratch, you're able to time surge and get out of the corner in those situations. So it's very good defensive stone for Venom. In terms of offense, though, it actually helps the set play a little bit. So if you have a situation where the Venom trap is placed right outside the corner, Time Surge will actually push them out of the corner and into the trap immediately. So there's a lot of interesting resets you can do typically with it. I was like catching people with this like for like about a week. Like you can do, as soon as they land, they get caught. You can get you know, the set play going off of that. If they have like a 9,000 health character like Strider or Spider-Man or something, you will be able to kill them before they even get the chance to counter tag, whether or not they spend the bar that they start with. In terms of time zone, though, like you can get 8,000 damage combos, which is nice. Like you can. Wait, what is it? Sorry, it's been a while since I did this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Too many. Like, you can do that. And typically you can get like 8,000 damage off of a hit, which is pretty good. I think this will do 7,000 since it started with a light. Yeah. So you can get some decent damage off the Storm. It's just, you can already do that with other Storms. So what's the point? Next I want to talk about is Reality Stone. I think Reality Stone's actually really good with Venom because there's a lot of situations where a lot of characters will be able to rush Venom down, and there's not really many situations where he is able to tolerate it. So the Reality Stone like kind of helps like control that space in between. It's not necessarily something you like put on top of them because a lot more aware players like myself will reflect it and will capitalize off of it. It's generally just there to keep the opponent from, just going ham in the neutral. So it helps a lot in that situation. Also, just buys you enough time to get a trap set up. And then, once you have the trap set up, you're able to just kind of push forward with it. Like, typically, when I was playing against Coach Steve at KIT, I would try to put it, like, in front of him. And then I would just push behind it. Because I knew if he ever tried to commit to anything, to applying pressure, there's a chance on a lot of stages that the white trap will actually blend in with the ground. So that's one thing to take note. But he will actually... the opponent may be tempted to actually try to apply pressure, and then they'll get caught by the Venom trap. So the Reality Stone in those situations, allows you to help like control that space just long enough to get the Venom trap set up, especially if they're jumping around and everything. Or even in some instances, it's really good to get the Venom rush established if they're trying to stay grounded. Or Venom throw, there's a lot of things. It just allows Venom to control the space a little better in situations where like the opponent would be able to, punish him for committing to anything. It's also really good with Spidey. One thing that's really important to note is that in certain situations, if you do set it up on them where they will reflect it, you can typically set it up to where your Venom Glide will be able to nullify it as you're going in, and then just come in with the normal, and then you're still at the frame advantage. You still have you have the pressure. It's your turn now. So that's one thing that's really important to note with the stone. Also with the storm, it's just really good. Like it allows Venom to get those few situations where he's actually able to apply pressure and open the opponent up. So, like, I could, just, I can actually get the left, right, high, low going if, I'm actually thinking. So it could be like, high, low stuff from there. But yeah, it's... I would put it like in the middle of the pack, probably like top 3 stone for him. So far, I would say it's like mind, time, power, as the going from worst to almost the best, I guess. Oops. And then, so I would say the other one that's probably tied for second with Reality Stone is Space Stone. It's pretty useful in certain situations. Being able to pull people into Venom Trap is really nice. Just like it, just the usefulness off of getting the box is mainly what you're using it for. Venom trapping people into the box is generally in those situations where I was showing earlier, where like say Ultron is way up in the stratosphere, calling drones, raining them down, trying to pull you into them. Typically in those situations, or like with Doctor Strange, for instance, if he's like setting up the eye and smacking it and then going somewhere, like doing daggers at the knock or teleporting to the ground or something, I typically like to, against Doctor Strange players, put it right in front of him, so as soon as he smacks the eye starts pulling towards me, or attracting towards me. I'm able to pull him into the Venom Trap where the eye is no longer there, so it's actually able to catch him, and then the eye will disappear. Also, the Space Stone provides me with armor so that if the eye comes into contact with me before the Venom Trap catches him, I will be armoring through the eye so that the Venom Trap will still have the chance to catch him, and then it'll disappear when Strange gets hit. But yeah, in terms of the box, it's just like there's a lot of situations where it's being able to just confine the opponent into a space where they're not able to punish you for doing Venom Rush or anything is very important, because then Venom is able to keep them on the ground, and then you're able to get a pressure going. And also it helps you set up offense for, like, if you're trying to kill off one character before they get a chance to counterattack or anything, or recover any health with that character, keep them from reviving with Soulstorm, all that stuff. So more so Space Stone is good with Venom because it's Space Stone. It's not necessarily like there's not any synergistic qualities to it. It's, you know, it just happens to be the best stone. In my opinion, though, Soul Stone, aside from being the best stone also, is fantastic with Venom for different reasons. So, one, the whip goes farther than any normal he does. It goes 3/4 screen, and as you can see, it goes straight forward when he's in the air. There's a lot of instances where you can actually, if you're zipping forward, you can still refrain from committing to any options in that situation. And then when you're in the air, there's not really many situations where it's more of a blind spot that he has, where it's just like going forward in the air, he doesn't really have any options to deal with it. So he's got like web zip down forward. That doesn't really help. He's got box dash forward, but you know, it only goes like a third of the screen, maybe half the screen. And he's also putting himself in a dangerous position potentially by committing to a situation where the opponent could either be under him and setting up you know, some sort of pressure situation, or punishing him, any of those things. Or if it's like Doctor Strange, for instance, they can throw out the Eye of Agamotto, smack it, and then all of a sudden you're dashing into an eye, which means you're going to get hit. They're going to get a full combo. You're going to be in a really bad position because Venom will die off the second hit. So what Soulstone does, it just like covers that blind spot, and that's also equally important for Spider-Man, because he has that same exact issue. Also up forward, you know, Venom Barrel doesn't really cover anything, and once again he's committing even worse with the box dash heavy, because he's in awful recovery and he's way up in the air looking like a dumbass. So it's the surge is actually extremely useful for Venom. Also, like, you know, you can get some you can incorporate it into combos. It beats out Sigma's armor. It smacks Rocket Raccoon if he's trying to Space Stone you into traps. You know, like the fact that it beats armor is actually a very important quality to it. And so, like, you know, you can actually incorporate it into combos off of the crumples. Off of this setup, I can also go into Soulstone if they neutral tech. So it's way more important as a surge than most other surges. In addition, the Soulstorm is actually extremely important to Venom because, as I said before, one of his biggest weaknesses is that he is very bad as a character by himself. Once your point character dies, the character that he's supporting, if any of you play League of Legends or Dota, there's not really much that the support character can do when their carry or their tank or their ganker or whatever dies. You know, there's not much the offensive line can do in football whenever the quarterback is already down. So the Soulstone with the Storm resurrecting gives the you know, kind of keeps that team synergy going and like tries to cover up that flaw. And that's why I play Soulstorm, because I can make a lot more comebacks with Spidey than I can with Venom. Bringing Spidey back gives me, like, as long as Spidey is alive, I have a chance to win, and I'm firm believer in that. When Venom's by himself, I'm not as confident, because I don't have as many opportunities to open the opponent up. My neutral's going to be worse because I can't maneuver the screen as well with Venom. I don't have opportunities to capitalize off of locking the opponent down, really. Even though Venom Rush has that absurd positive frame advantage on block, there's not really too much he can do off of it. The opponent can just respect it and block. So the Soulstorm is just able to keep that integrity of the team. Also, there's just like, you know, with Spidey at least, there's a lot of things that happen to work really well with the characters. So like, for instance, if they're both in the air, I can hold up forward and then zip. Venom can't zip up forward, but Spidey can, so I can actually get them to cross up a bit and, you know, desync them a bit, desynchronize, so that I can get more screen control, more chaos going. The opponent is not able to control the situation as well. Just a lot of things for them to have to take into account. So that's it for the Stone synergy. I guess I'll go on to the character synergy. Like I said before, point characters are best at taking advantage of what Venom brings to the table. So typically those are going to be Spider-Man's actually really good. Not only is it like a fun canonical team with maximum carnage memes and dreams and all sorts, but Venom provides the lockdown that Spidey desires, and Spidey provides a capture state on point that Venom is able to take advantage of to set up shop. And when Venom is able to set up shop, get that real estate established and everything, then he's able to do his job, which is lock the opponent down for Spidey, and it just, you know, keeps going full circle. Other characters that do really well are Nova, of course, is a fantastic point character. Dante has teleport mixed up so that he's able to get some stuff going with Venom Web. Dormammu actually is an interesting partner in terms of partnering with Venom, because he's not really a point character per se. He's like, you know, 60-40, where it's like he's more 60% support, 40% point. But Dormammu does have the potential to mix up the opponent, which is what Venom is extremely useful for. And he also has left-right mix-ups with Venom Web using the teleports, so that's also useful. Iron Man is actually not bad if you're looking for like more unique characters to work with. Iron Man does have some high-low stuff. Ultron's fantastic. Hawkeye is he's a point character, but he's not one that's going to open you up. So that's one flaw that pairing those two characters would be. But if you're playing a team like Hawkeye Venom, you would you're more focused on the neutral. You're more focused on the defensive play, trying to force people to you know, commit certain things. Yes, Captain America is actually a very fantastic, or should be a fantastic character for. He's just a fantastic point character in general. He's got the high lows with he has a really nice short hop that Venom can take advantage of, or that Venom can provide for. Jeddah is actually a very strong character to go with. Jeddah is a strong point character that tends to snowball with offense. Whereas Venom is someone that can, you know, provide that lockdown from full screen and everything. He's got the high lows, he's got the left rights, he's got all of that. Sigma, I would actually say, is one of the worst characters to pair Venom with, because if you're looking at tournament play, there's not really much that Sigma does not have a way to open the opponent up. Sigma serves the same role as Venom. It's basically just pairing an assist character with an assist character if you're thinking like Marvel 3, Marvel 2 logic, where it's like you don't want to play Cyclops behind Captain Commando, because Cyclops may have the best assist in the game, but what's Captain Commando going to do on point? Spencer is another good character that can be paired with them. You know, characters that have high lows. So Spencer, Chun-Li's fantastic, Morgan's good, Hagar could actually be terrifying, Firebrand's good. Zero is fantastic, but that goes without saying. Zero is a top 3 character, or top 4. Rocket Raccoon's actually really good because there are a lot of instances where Rocket might be able to, you know, he might be able to control a lot of real estate and like frustrate people that are trying to get in and everything, but he can't really get in on his own. That being said, there are a lot of situations where Rocket Raccoon can actually put a lot of stuff on the screen to provide Venom a chance to get his Venom Rush and Venom Traps established, to also control the screen, so that if Venom can get the opponent locked down, then Rocket can get in and get his high-low mix-ups going, and then he can also continue that pressure. That being said, the flaw with the team is that if Rocket gets a Flame Trap set up, Venom's not going to be able to capitalize off of it as well. Sure, he's got... I will say, though, on the other hand, it will give Venom the opportunity to actually flex his high-low game in the corner if you get someone locked down with a Flame Trap, because then he can, do the Venom Glide, get the overhead, or just fake it and go low. Arthur's actually not a bad character to pair with Venom. Kinder Party was trying this team out for a little bit. They typically suffer from the same bad matchups like Dormammu, for instance. So that's one thing to take into account. Strider's actually not a bad character to work with Venom. Venom typically is able to do a lot of things meterless. Strider, or when Venom is using meter, Strider's able to get some left-right mix-ups going. However, Strider's high-low game is not as strong because his short hop is not that great. And a lot of his instant overheads will actually whiff on half the cast. You actually have to be at least Venom-sized in order to get hit by crouching instant overheads from Strider. But Strider does have a lot of potential with left-right game, using traps and all sorts of stuff. And he's able to use meter for Ouroboros, whereas Venom is not typically one to use as much meter. Yeah, I think that's most of the cast. Gamora wouldn't be bad. Thor's not bad. That'd be an obscure team though. Captain Marvel would be nice. Yeah, I mean, I would say one fallacy that you might try to slip into would be like, oh, well, Monster Hunter does really well when she's when someone's locked down because she's got her demon form left, right, and everything. What about Monster Hunter Venom? That would be good. That being said, the team is not good until she's in demon form, and only when she's in demon form. Because if you think about it, Monster Hunter typically likes to start on point. She'll do a lot of, just like charge up, hyper armor, big slash, and all that stuff. And typically that's the other character's chance to get the high lows, the left rights, and everything going so that they can get the hit. And then once they get the hit, they're able to go into Monster Hunter to get her hyper combo, install her with demon form, and then it's the other character's job to provide a potential lockdown or something so that Monster Hunter can then get her left, rights, and high lows going with the demon form with her dodge roll. So typically Venom's not a character that you want to pair up with a character like Monster Hunter who's almost like a 50-50. I guess she's more like a 55 support, 45 point, but that's only when she's in the demon form. When she's not in demon form, it's more like 70-30. Just like Venom. I would say the worst pair up with Venom would probably be Sigma or yeah, probably Sigma. Sigma really doesn't do anything when if it's Sigma's job to be the point character to try to open someone up, 99% of the time he's not going to do it. Another character that's really probably not that great is Thanos or X. Thanos can kind of, Venom and Thanos can sometimes just bully you and like force a slip up and stuff. Kinder Party has definitely showed like what that team can do with when you get the hit, it's like it snowballs terribly. But when you don't get the hit, you're in a lot of trouble. Those two characters really just don't accomplish much when either of them are point and it's their job to get the hit. Another not so good pair up would be Ghost Rider Venom. Ghost Rider typically in the meta is a character that capitalizes off of locking down the opponent with his Maelstrom super. Venom is a character that really can't take advantage of that because of the high-low mix-ups that really are lacking, as well as the left-rights. Winter Soldier is also a character that falls into that same exact category, so that Venom Winter Soldier really doesn't work well. And I would say Hulk Venom probably doesn't work well either. Those are probably the worst ones. Best ones, as I said before, it'd be point characters like Nova, Spidey, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Morgan, Chun-Li, Spencer, Jeddah, Firebrand, even Zero. Those are like typically the ones you want to look for. Dante, always exceptional character. For anyone in this cast, Dante works. Ultron would be good. Just those the basically you're looking for the characters that can go high-low, that can go left-right, that can take advantage of locking the opponent down with Venom Rush or Venom Fang. Black Panther would even be a suitable pick. And Venom is a very easy character to pick up. I think I learned him like in a week. I mean, I wasn't good with him at the time, but it got the job done. It just use him for the support and all that stuff, and let your point character do all the work. So if you're looking to play a character that requires a large investment like Black Panther, or just investing a lot of time trying to learn him and perfect him, like Black Panther or Spidey without Power Stone, Venom is a perfect fit because he's easy to pick up. If you have far less time to invest in learning a character, you might want to try to consider Sigma, a character that can actually lock down much easier, that kind of just bullies his way in. That being said, Venom is a lot better as a point character than Sigma is. Sigma's like basically 95% support, 5% point. The character does not do anything whatsoever on point, and when the point character dies, you might as well chalk it up as a loss. Venom, you still have a chance. You have to be very confident in how you play the character and everything, so it's... yeah. So that concludes the tutorial. I apologize that it took 2 hours and 3 minutes. But, yeah, I can... if any of you'd like to ask any questions, I'll go ahead and answer them. Thank you, everyone that managed to tune in for this long. I apologize for how long it was. I tried to cover absolutely everything I could think of that I've done with this character and that I've seen with this character. So I'll just go through it all. If you manage to miss any of it, you can go through the Twitch archives if you'd like. I'll be uploading this to YouTube. If you're viewing this from YouTube, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you could give me a follow on twitch.tv/AirborneIsFly. You can follow me on Twitter at AirborneIsFly. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Airborne is Golden. I apologize that they're all different, but I have gone through some phases. Let's see. I will not do a Captain Marvel tutorial. I do not know how to play the character whatsoever. The next one would be Spider-Man, as 27th Oath said earlier. My favorite character to play as is Spider-Man. Second favorite character to play as is Venom or Dormammu, probably. Yeah, Captain America, Venom is... I think it'd be really good personally. I haven't seen anyone play that team, but it'd be really, really interesting just because of the amount of opportunities that that Captain America gets to take advantage of Venom. Oh, yes, I actually have a lot of tools with Venom that I did not explain earlier. my training partner, Static Alpha, is one of the best Strider players out there. Yeah, Hanny, I talked about Venom with Rocket a little bit. Morgan with Venom, I feel like, is a little more straightforward, so I didn't feel like I really had to go into a lot of detail about that. Morgan, gets the left, rights, and the high lows and everything. Anyways, so there's a lot of issues that Strider presents as a character when you're fighting him. One of those happens to be Vajra. There's really not many opportunities if you're not playing Power Stone to actually punish Vajra. So like you'll see a lot of people do like Vajra tag. So like you can dash under it and throw punish. But you have to be really careful about the timing. And the way that I timed it just now, if the opponent is not already buffering a jab or something, you can get that throw. But otherwise, they're gonna get hit, or you're gonna get hit. Venom's big and bulky. He doesn't really have many opportunities to actually contest Vajra or dodge it. That being said, you can do this wonderful thing, which is... That's not it. Zip up. As soon as you see Strider disappear, hold up forward in both kicks. Be sure to hold the kicks, because if they tag, they can mess up the timing on it. But if you hold it, it'll come out on the first available frame. And it will actually punish. So, am I dropping frames? No. Okay, my preview's been like really choppy. If anyone's having issues with the stream quality, let me know. Anyways, so what you can typically do is if they're grounded, and they're going to Vajra, which is typically after you block like a heavy gram or something. So a lot of sequences you'll see is like this. Oops. So what you can do is you up zip as soon as you see them disappear. That's the timing for it. And then you're able to convert off of it. So and you can go into Venom Barrel, convert, make him really regret his life decisions. So that's one thing. Other things to note are whenever you see him wall cling, so if he does that, you can honestly just react to it with Venom Web. One wonderful thing about that is, in that instance, if he does do wall cling, and hasn't tagged or anything, the Venom Web will catch him. If he tags to try to make it safe, you're actually low enough to the ground where the Venom Web will actually catch the other character tagging in. So either way, it's going to catch them. So they have to, at that point, they pretty much have to force popping their storm. So what you could do is, they wall cling, and then you're able to just tag into your other character, and they pretty much have to force to committing to using their storm, which is actually funny because I could show this real quick. Oops. Well, anyways, if they pop the storm at that point, and you have Spider-Man that you're tagging into, you can actually ultimate web throw them on the startup afterwards, and punish them for activating storm. But yeah, there's that, and then Excalibur is actually really difficult to deal with. For Strider, basically you want to try to stay grounded with Venom as much as possible. In terms of if they're gonna try to control the air with Vajra or Excalibur. So like, oops, wrong one. They're like trying to just jump up and Excalibur you. Web throw beats it. Also, web glide beats it. One thing to note though is that a lot of Strider players will like to just jump back Graham or just Graham in general for try to catch you from trying to lay traps and whatnot. So there's not really much you can do that with that. Like if they're tiger kneeing it or anything, the best thing to try to do is just jump above it or low profile it. So like there, you can low profile it, and you can actually like sort of inch your way in, or just do something. So like, let's say they're trying to do tiger knee that. Oops. So let's say they're doing tiger knee Graham Vajra. You can actually dash forward. Yeah, so for the most part, it's basically just trying to be mindful of the Graham. If they're looking to Vajra a lot, stay grounded and then just be ready for the up zip. And you can just dash out of the way if you need to. Air dash does not work, so don't do that. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough matchup, but it's something you gotta kind of rely on your point character more with. You just gotta be mindful of them trying to do Excaliburs. If they can't do it like straight across, they have to do Graham for it. So if you can't do Venom Trap. There's just a lot of things you have to be careful about with the Graham. So like, what you can do though is that you can, if you know they're gonna Graham, you can just jump over it, zip, and then catch them. That's really like one of the few situations you have for it. Like you can also try to like space out a Venom Fang if you're good with that. Yeah, it's a difficult matchup, I'll say that. With Ultra and Venom, though, yeah, basically just one thing I personally like to do, if you ever find a free moment, is to try to just lay the trap. And then when Strider is doing all his stuff, like, and he teleports to Vajra, he'll actually get caught. Also, like, it's just like, trying to like place it like where it's like slightly behind you, because if he teleports behind you, it'll catch him. If he teleports in front of you, you can answer to it. But if he teleports in front of you and there's Excalibur, it'll still catch him. It's just like the upwards web zip will, the Venom Traps there is a failsafe basically. Any more questions? In terms of matchups, though, characters that definitely give him a lot of trouble are, Hawkeye. He's pretty frustrating with the amount of ground control he has. Typically, you have to try to convince Hawkeye. I say convince with not a lot of hope. Basically, try to force him to commit to jumping. At that situation, you can try to keep him in check with the zip, or like try to establish your Venom Trap and everything. I'm trying to think of what I do against Kev. Yeah, I mean, like, try to get the Venom Trap established. It'll soak up the exploding arrow. Reflect arrows if necessary. That kind of stuff. I don't think he can low profile under the spritzer like Spidey can. Basically, try to, like, if he goes for up arrows or anything, try to catch him with the You can catch him with a web throw for free, basically, at that point. Or Venom Rush. And then tag. Dormammu, you have to make him guess wrong on the pillars. That's really difficult. If you think he's going to jump up and try to dark hole to get pressure started with for the other character, you can typically zip him or just Venom Web super. That's actually a matchup where Venom Web is actually extremely useful. In those holes, like, just try to be wary of like how to push block dark hole and purification and all that. Rocket Raccoon is actually a matchup that I think he's very favorable for. Or it's not necessarily very favorable for him. It's just a very favorable matchup in relation to the rest of the cast. Venom Rush actually clears all the traps. If Rocket Raccoon commits to anything, it'll pop him way up in the air, and then you can, web throw him so that you get away from the big trap. You can punish the big trap on activation, like with several different methods. There's a lot of promise to the character in terms of like some like higher tiered matchups, but there's just certain characters you have to be very wary of. So yeah, that concludes the tutorial. Thank you everybody for watching. If you're interested in any more Spider-Man or Venom stuff, feel free to follow me here on Twitch. You can also subscribe to me. WebZip also does get rid of traps, and that's also another reason why I use Soul Surge, is to whip Rocket Raccoon whenever he's trying to pull you in. If you like what you saw, feel free to give me a follow on Twitch. I try to do some online play, and I try to bring over my teammates like Static Alpha and Dual Kevin whenever Kevin's in town, or Static's coming over here or something. We got a lot of fun matches going. I like to dissect a lot of my online matches and everything while I'm playing, so that you understand what I'm going for and what I'm thinking, trying to adapt and everything. If you're looking to try to improve in terms of just understanding the game better, or understanding the flow of matches and everything, I think I do a pretty good job at helping people understand that. If you are interested in any other videos that I put out, I do have a YouTube channel. It's Airborne is Golden. If you're viewing this from YouTube, feel free to subscribe. There will be more content like this coming. I'll try to get more match analyses and everything, as well as character tutorials or matchup guides and everything. If you want to see what I'm up to, you can follow me on Twitter at AirborneIsFly. That's also on the screen, your right of me, my left. And yeah, so thank you for tuning in, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night and get this uploaded on YouTube. So take it easy, stay fly.